Sekiro. Shadows die twice.
Oh, damn it. God, that was so stupid. Yikes.
Sekiro was a game I never thought I would play myself. It was slated as one of the hardest FromSoft games ever put out. It was known to be punishing. It was an action RPG, which I generally suck at. And, well, I hate controller.
Oh, and we will be doing this as mouse and keyboard to keep the April Fool's thing up.
Having given not only my chat at the time a heart attack, but probably you, the viewer, as well, I set up my keyboard controls, I met with Kuro, and I went to fight my first boss, which I immediately and promptly died to. We're off to a fantastic start. So you'd expect then that I would go into the Genichiro fight with at least a little bit of humility. However, I thought that I was going to be the first person ever to walk in and beat him on my first try. And, well...
Oh, damn it.
Tucking my tail between my legs, I died, with grace, by the way. Went back to the main shrine and learned where the prosthetics tool was. I then promptly went around and introduced myself to everyone in the only way I knew how, stabbing them. I then began my journey into the world of Sekiro. The first comment I'd like to make is how absolutely stunning this game is, especially considering the fact that I just wasn't really ready for it. The world was huge, everything was really pretty, and it was all really well done. So I walk around the snow, another of the fantastic scenes in the game, and as I was exploring around, I found my first boss since waking up, and as you're about to see, I was just so excited to finally fight another boss.
Oh, shit.
Hilariously enough, it actually went pretty well. This boss isn't hard by any means. He's meant to show you that you have a parry button, and to use your parry button, which for a lot of Souls players can be a really difficult thing to get used to, but we took him down.
So much better of an attempt. Holy shit. That was so much better. And we got a gourd seed, which has to be the item to heal our medicine gourd thing.
Right. Well said. Gourd seed thing. Well, I went back to Emma, and I increased its uses. I ended up going back out and proceeded to do some shinobi things, like stealth. However, the stealth rapidly turned into me jumping on people, and then a man with a hammer attempting to bludgeon me to death, who really never did slow down once. Even after dispatching him, watching the footage, realized how I just willy-nilly ran in at him. It was really dangerous. Regardless, at this point, I was finally determined to go fight Genichiro. I was going to make my way to the castle, I was going to go fight him, and I was going to go prove that this wasn't just an April Fool's joke. I was going to have my revenge. But before I could do that, I had to talk to this old lady. She gave me a bell, which I thought was a pretty neat gift. And then I met a man in a tent. And after that, I went to talk to the Shinobi Master. And slowly but surely, I was starting to realize that it was very, very easy to get sidetracked in this game. So I naturally went and told myself I wouldn't get sidetracked, and proceeded to immediately get sidetracked by the first interactable object I found, a Buddha statue. And here, I was about to redefine what the word pain meant. You see, little did I know that this would take me to a completely different side area known as the Harada Estate, a dream within Wolf's Head. You see, here chat was telling me that there were trinkets, prosthetics tools, cool traders, and some mini-bosses to fight. So I figured why not? And I also was going to learn how to do something called a Makiri counter, a slightly important skill. One of the first things we did here was meet a man who was absolutely obsessed with fish scales. He treated them as currency, and of course, like all people who live in buckets that trade for fish scales do, he had unique goodies to give me if I gave him fish scales. And to be fair, some of the goodies seemed pretty good. Now, Dark Souls contains many interesting characters. Whether it's Dark Souls 1 with its cast and crew, most notably Solaire to most people outside the series, or Onion Knight, who has another name, but I've only seen referred to as Onion Knight outside of the game, there are a lot of interesting people to meet. However, here in the estate, the only people I can meet, I stab. So here I fought for a while until I finally died enough times to unlock Resurrection, which is the whole dies twice part in the game.
Okay, stealth a little more. Oh, wait, no, hold on. Surprise!
The first thing I found was the flame barrel, which looked responsible for all the fire around me. Immediately following this, I listened in on some people talking, I stabbed the people who were talking, and got a shinobi axe from stabbing the people. Now remember, when playing Sekiro, the best way to get things is murder. By this point, I was completely lost and sidetracked, so I headed back to the shrine and got my axe refit. I also got a few of the other prosthetics tools fit, and learned about esoteric texts, which are basically skill books that allow you to unlock different abilities within the game, most notably the Makiri counter. So by this point, I had a few new abilities, and the Shinobi Hunter seemed like another shitty mini-boss for me to go in, fight, kill, and claim his items. However, he unfortunately did not turn out to be so, as the Makiri counter wasn't as easy as I initially thought to use.
God, that was so stupid. Oh, because I have...
So, much like a sibling would laugh at you after he beats you over and over in a game you challenged him at, the game taught me about Dragon Rot. That's the game punishing you for dying too much. However, I wasn't really focused on this. I wanted to go back and fight the hunter, and so I did.
Oh!
This truly was the moment I swallowed my pride and understood that this wasn't going to be beaten by brute force. A lot of the enemies attack very fast, your patterns must align correctly with the enemies, and, well, while it sucks to get killed, killing bad guys feels great.
Oh!
So for you veterans out there, please note that I'm fighting through the Hirata estate without having fought the ogre yet. So many of the tutorials that I'm supposed to have had at this point haven't popped up on screen. So a lot of this was learning as I went, and while trial by fire can be very detrimental, sometimes this happens.
I kind of wanna kill him. Psych!
You see, fighting bosses isn't always the thing to do, and neither is fighting regular enemies. So here, I met with Owl. I talked with him a little bit as the whole estate earned around me. He gave him an item that I wasn't going to be able to use for a while, and I moved on. I had an ogre to fight and a date with Nitro to make.
Shit. Have fun with that.
The ogre isn't really a hard boss by any means. However, he went against everything I had been learning up until this point. He can't really parry his attacks, but dodging works fine, so I eventually killed him. After this, I rapidly dispatched the next mini-boss, an enemy general, and then proceeded to go down a cliff to meet my brand new best friend.
Does he just want to hang out? Ah! No, he doesn't!
Finally, after a lot of running through the castle, I made my way to the first real boss. After going through so much of the Hirata estate, Gyobu's entire fight was trivial. Grapple onto him, attack him a few times, and eventually, You can parry all of his stuff and get the killing blow.
Easy. Easy. Almost missed that finishing dash as well. Ooh.
Following this, I talked to Ishin, who was disguised as somebody else, and killed somebody for a reward he gave, before proceeding further into the castle, where I discovered this.
Ow.
The bull wasn't really a tough boss fight. The difficult part of it is the fact that it's wild and it hurts, and it deals fire damage. However, firecrackers are super effective against it, so I continued exploring. I met this man with a bell who really liked ringing it on my head, like a lot, and then eventually made my way towards the monastery, which, again, the scenery in these areas is beautiful. The enemy it designs are incredible, and it's just honestly a treasure to play. I cannot recommend it enough to you. However, our guest star is soon to appear, a one Mr. Jim Dark Souls.
Ooh. Oh.
After being absolutely eviscerated, I decided it was time to go to bed. This concluded my first day of playing Sekiro. Luckily, the next day it didn't take me long to figure out how to fight him. As long as you perfect parry, you can eventually build up his posture high enough to kick him off the bridge.
There we go. That's it.
The monastery held many treasures, and by treasures, I mean little goblin men who attempted to stab me, break me over their legs, and snap my spine. Now, the monks I usually left good and well alone. They were a pain to fight, and sneaking by them was more efficient. However, this group seemed oddly suspicious guarding a single item, and, well, I had to figure out what was so valuable for so many of them to be here.
Oh god, there's monsters! Oh dear! Bye!
One of the first interesting things I found was the Sempo esoteric texts. To be honest, I had to relaunch the game to see what they were. I found out that I didn't really unlock much in the book, as the skill was almost entirely occupied by Ichimonji until I got the Mortal Blade skill later. Therefore, I really only unlocked passive upgrades to healing or charms or damage on finishers, because, in my opinion, that was the best strat. Although, now there's probably something in here I should have unlocked, and with hindsight in my favor, I know now that there are probably some skills in here I could have used in certain situations, but that's hindsight speaking, and at the time, I didn't use them, so moving on. I was finally making my way towards the monastery proper, past a bunch of people with these really spinny bomb weapons that were doing their best to maim me, where what I assumed to be the head priest told me about the infested. And real quick aside about the story of this game, it's actually one of the easier laid out storylines that FromSoft has released. People try to find out immortality, all of a sudden immortality happens and it's not working out as people has hoped, because there are these really creepy bug centipedes in people, and who wants that? Well, the monks did, and they continued becoming immortal. Now, obviously this is boiling down the story to its bare minimum and skipping a lot of the really important and cool details that really fleshes it out, but that's for you to discover, not me to tell you. And while the monastery was pretty cool, there were many people trying to kill me, and my only instinct was to try and get out of here as soon as possible. So naturally, as was my MO at this point, I continued to explore and find more things that wanted to kill me. My favorite was the centipede of long arms. Killed him for another prayer bead. That was pretty cool. And I continued on my way. Before continuing further, I was informed that I had missed an item in the dream world from behind where I had already cleared up to. So I made my way back, found a little secret side passage, and found myself face to face with a ninja wearing this purple gear. And what ensued was probably one of my favorite moments I had in the rest of the game.
Oh, shit. Oh! Oh.
I killed him on my first try. I was elated. Finally, things were working out for me. And here I got a really important item, Mist Raven Feathers, which allow me to basically teleport from one place to another to dodge an attack, which it's supposed to do that, but I never actually used them because at this point I was completely into just using firecrackers. So, you know, who knows what they actually do. But I eventually left the dream and returned to the location where I had met Lord Kura on the first night. Moonview Tower looked just as imposing in the day as it did in the night. However, this time, it was littered with all these enemies that required stealth kills to clear, otherwise everyone aggroed you at once. The boss, one of the 7 spears, initially seemed rather difficult, but upon a second round and the discovery that you could backstab him, he went down like many of the others before him did. And I was feeling like I was truly understanding how the game worked as I approached Lone Shadow Longswordsman, who also went down on the first try. Things were really going up this stream, and I was really feeling like all the mechanics were finally coming together. And, you know, I was making the jokes earlier, but I want to make it clear. I don't think, or I didn't think in this moment, that I was some protege at Sekiro and that Souls games were easy and get good and all that, although if you're struggling, you should. I struggled with my fair share of bosses and realized that many of the side bosses were not meant to be difficult, but instead to teach specific lessons to the player. However, in the moment it felt good as the dodges, blocks, parries, counters, and all the tools I used came together to form a cohesive set of skills that allowed me to fight and win. And it was going great until I encountered my second major setback. Snake Eyes Shirahagi.
Also, it's a she there. Oh, they're all... Okay, my bad. Dude. Okay. Roger Dodger. I mean... Oh! Oh! Yikes. You see, it was already late by the time I had walked into her arena, and the fact that it was a massive poison swamp didn't help. For whatever reason, I couldn't manage to damage her, and an important follow-up, I never received the tutorial tip at this point on how lowering vitality lowers their stamina regen so that their posture will fall. So I'm sneaking through this poison swamp, I backstab her, and I try and wail on her. She recovers all of her posture and insta-kills me over and over and over again. And this was a reoccurring theme for the rest of the game. Generally, enemies with high posture recovery gave me a major problem until and including the final boss. Eventually, I did finally beat her, much to my excitement. And that is how you take down a boss. Whew.
After successfully beating Shirahagi, the adrenaline coursing through my veins stopped me from quitting immediately. I ventured forward into a land surrounded in mist, beating Sekiro the Glutton, an enemy I decided to skip after my first attempt went pretty poor.
Oh, that's gonna get irritating. Okay.
Eventually, I did come back and beat him, and if you want to see that, you could always go check out my VODs on my second stream channel that I listed in the description. But moving on, we went on to fight Miss Noble. Chat was telling me how difficult this fight was for the past few hours, and I was actually starting to get frightened that it was. But instinctively, I moved forward carefully, tried to get a backstab, almost fucked that up as you can see, and proceeded to do this to him.
Wait, no. Wait. Oh.
So after beating the hardest boss in the game, I decided I wanted to continue further. I found a village, and in there I found some interesting people that were hiding from the evil bad guys of the village that were, you know, the evil bad guys. I snuck past a bunch of enemies. I talked to a friend we had been encountering a bunch up until this point, and I kept hearing music from around the corner. So as soon as I heard that, I knew I was probably fucked. But I decided, hey, what's the worst that could happen? I might as well move forward. And I saw this girl and felt like an enemy, so I went up to fight her, and it went bad.
Ooh, hello. Oh, and you're fast. Oh, and you hurt. Oh, no.
And with that, I decided it was time to go to bed. That went about as poorly as you'd expect. Upon my return to the game a week later, I decided it was time for us to beat Orin. And we do. But first, we need to go gather some stuff. On that journey, we also cleared further up an Ashina Castle in order to get closer to Geni. The goal here was to get Sabamaru. That's a high poison attack posture weapon, and using it is very good against Orin, or so chat said. Now, you may have noticed that in this part, I'm doing just about everything except, well, going to fight Genichiro, and that was kind of on purpose. One of the cool things about Sekiro is how non-linear the game can be if you decide for it to be that way, and I really didn't want to just go fight every enemy in the usual manner. And, well, that's because no matter how much of the game I thought I had cleared, there was always a new area to explore. There was always some other group of enemies, some other piece of treasure for me to go find, clear, and get the item. And in these adventures, we found Sabamaru, and later on found another prosthetic stool, talking to this little goblin man. And to be fair, at this point, the prosthetics tools were really just a collector's item for me. I only really used firecrackers and would sometimes change back and forth between the other items, but I would go and I would try and find one of the tools, and I'd find it, I'd equip it, I'd give it some upgrades, but I never really incorporated it entirely into my fighting styles. So going along with this, I got ready to go fight Orin. I checked my gourd seeds, I installed the prosthetics tools, and what's funny is I thought Orin was going to be the problem tonight, and really she wasn't. There's another boss fight that happened shortly after the Orin fight, and I'm sure anybody familiar with Sekiro knows exactly what I'm talking about. But before I even get there, I installed the prosthetic tools, I got my gourd up, and I talked to the NPCs around the shrine you wake up in, because there's a lot of interesting stuff going on there. Then I finally went back, I fought, and I won. And it felt really good. It was just a nice, clean fight. And then she appeared. And it was easily the most I struggled in the game. And I'll be quiet and let you kind of look for a moment, but I had no idea what I was doing. And at this point, I had no idea about the easy skip of sneaking around the arena. I just died constantly, over and over for hours. Almost this entire stream was me attempting to fight the corrupted monk. And that comes down to a lot of reasons. One, I still didn't really like the whole posture decreases really quick if they're at high vitality, which I didn't completely understand, or I guess believe, which is I know is really stupid. But I know there's a death montage going on, but these are a fraction of the deaths I had. I ended up running out of divine confetti, and when I eventually did beat her, the attempt itself took almost 15 minutes because I had to slowly chip down her health manually with none of the items that allow you to do more damage to ghosts. What this did allow for, though, is I got a lot better at reading the corrupted monk's abilities, and I got good at Kiri counters on a different enemy type, and eventually I did beat her, and it felt really, really good, just like beating any Souls boss does. But this one taught me a lot more, and beating it just, I can't really describe it. But anyway, I'm kind of ranting, and this video is going on long enough. There's a lot more to it, and obviously we haven't even fought Genichiro yet, but just going over the first couple days of me playing, the improvement I saw was amazing. I had so much fun in some of these fights, and I really love this game. So if you like this video, haha, do the thing. I also have a VOD channel if you ever want to watch the full playthrough, and I'm also live on Twitch. I'll put everything down below in the description, and just thank you for watching and spending your time here.